Cat aggression has to be one of the most confusing parts of being a cat owner, right? One minute, they're this adorable, purring ball of fluff, and the next, claws. In this explainer, we are going to get to the bottom of why our feline friends lash out, and maybe more importantly, what they're so desperately trying to tell us when they do.
I mean, we have all been there, haven't we? You're just chilling, having a nice little moment, petting your cat who seems perfectly happy, and then, bam, out of absolutely nowhere, you get the teeth or the claws. It's shocking, it's frustrating, and honestly, it can feel like a total rejection. But what if I told you it's almost never personal?
Okay, let's really dive into this, because this right here, this is the most important mindset shift you can make. Your cat isn't being mean. They're not being spiteful. An attack is almost always a form of communication. A lot of the time, it's actually a last resort, used only when all their other, more subtle signals have been completely missed.
So, I want you to try something. Think of that bite or that scratch not as an attack, but as a message, a really loud, unspoken message. It's a message they're delivering in the only way they know how when they feel totally overwhelmed or scared, or maybe even in pain. So our job isn't to punish the behavior, it's to decode that message. And that all starts with learning to speak their language.
So where do we even begin? How do we start listening? Well, it all starts with decoding their body language. See, long before a cat ever bites or scratches, they are practically shouting at us with their ears and their tail. These are the nonverbal warnings that we, as humans, just so often miss. Let's break down exactly what you should be looking for.
What's so cool about this is you can think of your cat's body like an emotional dashboard, giving you a crystal clear readout of what's going on inside. Ears forward and upright, you're good to go. But the second they swivel sideways into what we call airplane ears, that's your first warning shot. That means I'm getting annoyed. If they flatten completely back against their head, that's a red alert for fear or anger. And the tail, the tail is just as telling. Held high and confident, fantastic. But a tail that puffs up like a bottle brush, that means your cat is absolutely terrified. And that thrashing, thumping tail, let me tell you, that is not a happy dog wag. That's your cat basically screaming, I am so done with this situation.
Okay, so once you start seeing these signs, everything changes. You're no longer the victim of a surprise attack. Nope, you get to become a detective. You can stop an interaction before it gets bad and start asking the most important question of all. Why is my cat feeling this way in the first place?
So that big question, the why, it almost always boils down to one of these three major things. First, you've got instinct and play. This is super common in kittens and young cats who are just, practicing your killer hunting skills on your ankles. Then there's environment and stress. Stuff like a new person in the house, a scary loud noise, or even just seeing a rival cat outside the window. And third, and this one is so crucial, is health and pain.
Let's dig into these a little more because they're super common. Overstimulation is that classic petting-induced aggression. You know the one. They love it, they love it, they love it, until suddenly they absolutely do not. Fear is a huge motivator, and a scared cat that feels cornered is going to defend itself. Redirected frustration is a fascinating one. Your cat sees another cat outside, gets all riled up, and then turns and bites you just because you happen to be the closest thing. But I really want you to focus on this last one, because it is arguably the most important. If your cat's aggression is a new thing or just seems totally out of character, a hidden health problem should be the very first thing you suspect. Cats are absolute masters at hiding pain, and sometimes a sudden lash out is the only way they can tell you, hey, this hurts.
All right, so we can read the signals now, and we've got a handle on the triggers. So what's next? Well, now we get to the good stuff. What do we actually do about it? Let's get into some real, actionable solutions that can create some harmony in your home by tackling these root causes head-on.
First up, that play aggression. We've got to give them a better way to get that energy out. And the number one rule, the golden rule, is you never, ever use your hands or feet as toys. If you do, you're literally teaching them that human skin is an appropriate thing to attack. Instead, grab a one toy and really simulate a hunt. Let them stalk it, chase it, and pounce on it. And here's a brilliant little psychological tip. Always let them catch their prey at the end of the game. It completes that natural hunt cycle in their brain and gives them this huge sense of satisfaction, which means they'll be way less likely to need to hunt you later.
Okay, moving on to environmental stress. Let's talk about something that is, believe it or not, one of the most critical resources in your cat's entire world, the litter box. The golden rule, and I mean this is what vets and behaviorists all recommend, is the N+1 formula. That means you need one litter box per cat plus one extra.
But look, just having the right number of boxes, that's only half the battle. Where you put them is absolutely critical.
See, cats feel incredibly vulnerable when they're doing their business. They need quiet, safe spots where they can see what's coming and have a clear escape route. Putting a box in a noisy laundry room or a dead-end corner is a recipe for stress. Getting this right can seriously lower your cat's baseline stress level, and that affects literally all of their other behaviors.
You know, at the end of the day, all of these solutions, they're not just about stopping a bad habit. They're about building a solid foundation of wellness for your cat. The best way to prevent aggression is to understand their psychology from day one and build a resilient, confident companion for life.
It's kind of wild when you think about it, but so much of who a cat will become, their confidence, their temperament, is pretty much set in stone in its first few months. This whole process is called socialization, and it happens in this teeny tiny window between just 2 and 9 weeks of age. Gentle handling, positive experiences with new sights and sounds, doing that during this period can build a much more well-adjusted and less fearful adult cat.
I love this quote because it gets to the heart of everything we're talking about. These aren't just simple pets, right? They are incredibly complex, sensitive little creatures. Our relationship with them has to be built on respecting who they are and being willing to understand their world, not just trying to force them to fit into ours.
And look, I'm going to say this one more time, just because it is that important. If you take only one thing away from all of this, let it be this. An annual checkup with your vet is non-negotiable. It is the single best tool you have for catching those hidden pains, like dental disease or arthritis, that are so often the real reason behind a sudden change in behavior.
So here's the takeaway. The next time your cat gives you a warning hiss or swats at you, try not to take it personally. Don't see it as an insult, see it as the beginning of a conversation. They're a partner in your home, not just a pet. The real question is, are you ready to listen?